start off with a deep theological story that has profound characteristics that we'll talk about in our class today. A college professor who was a staunch atheist shocked his students when he flatly stated that there's no God. And the expression, one nation under God, is unconstitutional. And what he was going to do later in the class is prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that there was no God. He looked up toward the ceiling and shouted, "God, if you're real, I want you to knock me off this platform. And I'm going to give you 15 minutes, God." The lecture room fell silent. 10 minutes went by. Nothing. Again, the professor taunted God by saying, "Here I am, God, I'm waiting. You have 5 more minutes." Just 1 minute remained. When a Marine just released from active duty and newly registered in the class walked up to the professor, hit him square in the mouth with a fist with full force. The professor fell from his lofty platform and was out cold. Without a word, the Marine went back and sat down in his seat. No one spoke. Eventually the professor came to. He looked up the Marine and yelled, "What's the matter with you? Why did you do that?" The Marine answered, "God was busy, so he sent me." There's a reason why I start out our last formal class with this story. It's to encourage each and every one of you to be willing to step up to the plate and help God in spreading the truth. You know, there are times when you will have to be the person who's going to have to stand in, just like that Marine, for God in sharing truth. And before we begin tonight's class, I do have a disclaimer to make. I did not take a tranquilizer, and I brought my club with me, okay? So just to warn you up front.
We didn't take our tranquilizer.
Okay, so we're on the same wavelength. Does everybody have that little track that we started last week? Do you have it? Well, last week we did something a little bit different. We're putting our apologetical work into action. And last time we started examining a tract by Chick called "Are Roman Catholics Christians?" And after getting through about half of it last week, this tract again proves the quote that we brought up last week by Bishop Fulton Sheen. And remember, he said, there's not 100 people in the world who hate the Catholic Church, but there are millions who hate what they mistakenly think the Catholic Church teaches. And isn't that true about this little tract here?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, we've already uncovered several misconceptions on the first half of the tract. You know, they're trying to present truths that the Catholic Church believes, even though it's totally false. And if we notice in the tract we've been going along, they've been mixing some truth in there. There is truth in there, but they're also interjecting things that are untrue. And they're trying to persuade a reader that the Catholic Church really believes in things that aren't Christian. So let's get back to the tract and see if this organization is telling the truth about the Catholic Church, what the Catholic Church believes in the second part of this tract. And last time we ended talking about the Eucharist. What I'd like to do, I'd like just to backtrack just a tad and just touch bases on what we talked about at the very end of last class and then go forward. So if you open your tract to the very middle, open it in center and go back 1 page. That's where I'd like to start. And just talking about a little bit what we talked about last time.
This one?
It's on the page that I'm having, it says around 1563, the Catholic Church. Are you where I'm at?
Yes.
Go at the very center and go back 1 page. Well, it says something here, which I really wanted to talk a little bit more about. Around 1563, the Catholic Church created horrible laws at the Council of Trent that made it a death sentence for anyone who said the bread and wine used in their Holy Communion was only symbolic. You know, that's the Council of Trent. What is Council of Trent? It's a council. What kind of a council? An ecumenical council, one of the 21 ecumenical councils in the history of the church. And what they declare is binding upon our church. But Jack Chick is saying they made a death sentence for people that will not believe it really is the body, blood, soul, divinity of Christ. And something I just wanted to reinforce. About the middle of the page, way down there, it's called anathema. I think we talked about it a little bit last time. But the Council of Trent came up with these anathemas. And these were statements saying that you must believe this, or you do not believe in what the Catholic Church teaches. And they came, if you don't, it's an anathema. And what Jack Chick is saying, that this is a death sentence. That they declared, if you don't believe what the Catholic Church teaches, the Catholic Church is going to come out and kill you. Okay? What anathema means from the Council of Trent is, if you are a Catholic, and you don't believe what the Council is proclaiming, you will be excommunicated. This is what this means. If you're a non-Catholic, this doesn't mean anything to you. So Jack Chick is trying to persuade people that anyone who thinks contrary to the Catholic Church, you're under a death sentence by the Council of Trent. That's ridiculous. It only deals with Catholics. And, another interesting point. In this little cartoon here, this guy is staked up here. And, this is how it looks like a priest or so. Is this the body and blood of Christ? No, it's only a symbol. In reality, the Protestant Reformation was hardly even off the ground yet. And really thinking of the Lord's Supper as symbolic, this is something that Zwingli started around the mid-1500s. So this thought wasn't even in existence yet. So Jack Chick is making it sound like there were Bible Christians way back then that believed there's only symbolic nature of the Lord's Supper. And historically, it was barely even in existence. So he's twisting history and twisting the truth on us a little bit here. So I just wanted to point that out again. So let's go ahead and go forward here. The next page. In the black highlighted, Protestants believe the Lord's Supper is symbolic. He just puts that blatantly. Well, he's lying here. Do you realize that the bulk of Protestantism doesn't believe this? You take the Lutherans, the Episcopalians, the Presbyterians, the Anglicans. They believe that the Lord's Supper is more than symbolic. So what Jack Chick is saying here is totally incorrect. Some Protestants believe it's only symbolic, and those are the evangelical Protestants. The rest of Protestantism doesn't believe this. So Jack Chick just kind of doing a cheap shot here. This includes Protestants too. All right. I got that out of my system. Now let's go into new ground. The next page. In the Old Testament days, the Jews sacrificed animals for sins of Israel. At times, it was a continuous sacrifice. It was a sacred and holy thing, and people were afraid to miss it. I guess so. True or false?
Yeah.
True! That's true!